Welcome to Honeybee. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Real stories of love, lies, and betrayal, where every truth stings. Let's begin. I stood beside my mother's hospital bed, the steady beeping of the heart monitor echoing in the quiet room like a countdown. The pale light from the overhead lamp cast soft shadows on her fragile face, making every line on her skin look deeper. Every breath she took sound heavier. The sterile scent of disinfectant filled the air, blending with a faint, fading trace of her lavender perfume, a scent she always wore when she tucked me into bed as a child. That perfume was my anchor. It whispered of warmth, safety, and love. But now it carried a different weight, the weight of goodbye. It was supposed to be a family moment. We had all agreed to be here together when her time came. She had always been the center of us, the glue that held the broken pieces of our family together. But as the final moments drew near, everyone else, my brothers, my sister, my uncles and aunts, slowly vanished. One by one, they made excuses. Some said they couldn't bear to see her like this. Others claimed they had things to handle or needed a moment. But I knew the truth. People often disappear when things get too real, too heavy. And so I found myself standing alone. The rhythmic rise and fall of her chest grew shallower. I reached for her hand. It felt cold and light, like holding a bird too delicate to grasp tightly. "I'm here, Mom," I whispered, my voice trembling. "I'm not going anywhere." Her eyelids fluttered faintly at the sound of my voice. A weak smile curved the corners of her mouth, a shadow of the radiant smile that used to light up entire rooms. For a second, I imagined her back in the kitchen, humming, making her famous chicken soup while scolding us for leaving our shoes in the hallway. Those little memories came rushing in like waves, knocking the air out of me. I tried to hold them, but they slipped away, just like the time I wished I could stop. Outside the room, I could hear laughter in the corridor. It felt strange, almost cruel. Life was still moving while mine was standing still. I checked my phone again, hoping for a message from someone. Anyone in my family. Nothing. They had all gone silent. As the evening deepened, the nurse gently entered the room, checking the 4-line and monitoring her vitals. She offered me a kind smile, one of those soft smiles meant to comfort, though it never truly could. I could tell she'd seen this scene countless times before. But for me, it was the first and only time I'd ever lose my mother. That thought alone shattered me. My throat tightened as I whispered, "She doesn't have much time left, does she?" The nurse looked at me with quiet sympathy, pausing before answering. "She's very tired. It may be soon. You should keep talking to her. She can hear you, even if she can't respond." I nodded slowly. My chest ached with every breath. I leaned close at Mom and pressed my forehead gently against hers. "I love you," I whispered, my voice cracking. "I love you so much." Her hand weakly squeezed mine in return. That simple gesture, it said everything words never could. Minutes turned to hours. The room grew colder. Her breaths grew slower. And then stillness. I froze. The sound of the heart monitor flattened into one long, unbroken tone. That sound sliced through me like a blade. My knees buckled, but I held her hand even tighter, as if refusing to let go could change everything. I kept whispering, "Please don't go. Not yet. Not like this." But death doesn't wait for our pleas. It just takes what it came for. The nurse came in silently, turning off the machines, pulling the sheet a little higher. She placed a gentle hand on my shoulder. "She's gone," she said softly. I couldn't speak. Tears blurred my vision until the world became a smear of light and shadow. My family should have been here for this moment, her final breath, but they weren't. It was just me, the youngest, the one everyone used to overlook. I stayed there long after they removed the equipment. I ran my fingers through her thinning hair one last time, trying to memorize everything. Her scent, the shape of her hands, the way the corners of her eyes wrinkled even in rest. I wanted to carve it all into my memory so I'd never forget. The next morning, I sat in the hospital corridor, numb and hollow, staring at the pale walls. One of the nurses approached me. She was different from the one last night. She was holding a small, cream-colored envelope in her hand. "This was left for you," she said quietly. I blinked. "For me?" She nodded. "Your mother gave this to us a week ago. She told us to hand it to you when the time came." My hands trembled as I took the envelope. It was sealed with her favorite floral sticker, the kind she used on lunchbox notes when I was in school. My chest tightened. I felt both terrified and desperate to open it. I slipped my finger under the seal and carefully unfolded the letter. Her handwriting, soft and looping, stared back at me. "My sweet child, if you're reading this, it means I've gone where pain no longer exists. I know you're standing there, probably feeling alone, abandoned, like everyone disappeared when you needed them most. I want you to know I saw you. I always saw you, even when others didn't. You were the one who sat with me when I was sick, the one who never ran away from the hard moments, the one who carried a quiet strength I admire more than words could ever say. Your siblings have their own battles. Don't carry their absence like a wound. Let it be what it is. I chose you for this moment because I trusted you to understand love, even when it's heavy. You were my light, and now it's your turn to live. Don't build your life around my absence. Carry me in your heart, not on your shoulders. Love, always, Mom." I read the letter again and again, each word breaking me open and holding me together at the same time. She had known this moment would come. She had known I would be the one standing by her side. She hadn't seen me as weak. She'd seen me as strong. The tears came freely then, not the kind that choke you, but the kind that flow like a river, soft, endless, cleansing. I clutched the letter to my chest, like it was the last piece of her I had left. Later, as I walked down the hospital hallway, the sun was just beginning to rise, painting the sky in soft shades of pink and gold. It was beautiful and cruel all at once. My family still hadn't returned. They sent me brief, emotionless texts. "How is she?" "Will come later." But later was too late. They missed everything. The funeral came and went like a blur. Relatives showed up in their best clothes, with polished words and practiced tears. They hugged me, telling me how strong I was, but none of them had been there. None of them had watched her take her last breath. None of them had felt her hand go cold. For a long time, I carried anger. I carried disappointment. I carried silence. I asked myself over and over, why was I the only one there? Why did they leave me to face it alone? But then, every time the pain became unbearable, I unfolded that letter. Her words reminded me that it wasn't about who wasn't there. It was about the bond we had. The bond no one else could ever understand. I began to realize something slowly. Love doesn't always show up in crowds. Sometimes, love lives quietly in the spaces between two people, a mother and her child. She needed everyone there. She needed me. Months passed. The house felt emptier than ever. Her absence hung in the air like a heavy curtain. But I started to keep her memory alive in small, gentle ways, planting her favorite flowers in the garden, lighting a candle every night, cooking her soup on cold days. It was my way of saying, I remember. My siblings eventually came around, but something between us had changed. They felt guilt. I felt distance. We spoke politely, but it was never quite the same again. They would talk about her in past tense, but I kept her in my present. I carried her voice with me. I heard her laugh when I made a mistake in the kitchen. I felt her hand on my shoulder when I doubted myself. She had become a quiet part of me. One rainy afternoon, I sat in my living room, the letter still neatly folded in a small wooden box. I opened it and read it again, just like I had every week since she passed. But this time, I noticed something different. At the bottom of the letter, faintly written in small letters I hadn't paid attention to before, she had added, "And remember, my love, you were never alone." That line hit me differently. I had stood by her deathbed feeling abandoned. I had believed I was the only one left. But now I understood she had been with me, even in silence, even when her breaths were fading, even after her heart stopped. She had trusted me with her final moments not to punish me with loneliness, but to gift me something sacred, a bond so deep that it could survive even death. Years later, that moment still lives inside me. The night I stood alone by her bed isn't just a memory of loss. It's a memory of love in its purest form. People sometimes ask me why I don't resent my family for leaving. I smile softly and tell them, because she didn't. She forgave them long before I even thought about it. And if she could let go of that weight, then so could I. I learned something that day. Death doesn't take love away. It only changes the way love exists. I'm no longer angry. I'm no longer waiting for them to understand what it meant to be there at that moment. I carry that understanding in my heart. And sometimes when I close my eyes, I can still feel her hand in mine, warm, soft, steady, just like it was before everything changed. I visit her grave often. I talk to her like she's still sitting beside me on the porch, sipping tea. I tell her about my days, my fears, my hopes. I know she listens. Somehow, and when the wind brushes against my face, I imagined her whisper, reminding me of her final words. You were my light. And in those moments, I don't feel alone anymore. Not then, not now, not ever.